The man standing in my driveway is holding a sympathy card in one hand and a locksmith receipt in the other. My younger brother smiles at me like we're still family. Then he says, "Dad wanted the locks changed before the memorial." I'm just respecting his wishes. My daughter Ava is standing behind me in socks, holding a half-finished bowl of cereal. My father has been dead for less than 2 days, and somehow, according to my brother, I'm no longer welcome in the house I paid to maintain for 7 years. My name is Natalie Rowe. I'm 38 years old, a senior operations director from Portland, Oregon. For 7 years, I was the child who stayed close. I stayed through dialysis appointments, through insurance paperwork, through late-night emergency calls from hospitals. Through the mornings, my father forgot where he was and accused me of being a stranger in his kitchen. Meanwhile, my brother Travis lived in Scottsdale, Arizona, posting golf photos and motivational quotes about loyalty. But the second Dad died, Travis suddenly became an expert on family legacy. What he didn't know when he handed me that locksmith receipt was that my father had already rewritten everything, and the attorney carrying the real paperwork was 10 minutes away. Welcome back to Echoed Karma. This is the channel for people who learned the quiet family member was usually the one keeping records. The daughter who stopped begging to be treated fairly. The son who finally documented every promise. The relative who learned silence works better when backed by paperwork. If you've ever watched someone mistake your patience for weakness, subscribe now, because this story starts with changed locks and ends with my brother discovering the property he tried to control was never legally his. My father, Richard Rowe, got diagnosed with kidney failure during a rainy November in Portland. Travis called me crying for exactly 8 minutes. Then he said flights were complicated with work. I lived 20 minutes away. So I became the system. I handled appointments. I handled prescriptions. I handled repairs around the house. I handled the stack of overdue bills hidden inside kitchen drawers. At first, Dad tried to stay independent. By spring, he couldn't drive safely. By summer, he needed help getting upstairs. Travis visited twice that entire year. But online, he looked like the devoted son. Photos beside hospital beds. Captions about gratitude. Quotes about protecting family. Meanwhile, I was sleeping on a pull-out couch listening for Dad's breathing at night. One evening around midnight, Dad asked me something strange. He said, "Natalie, if Travis starts talking about selling this place, don't let him." I thought medication was confusing him. I told him to get some rest. But he repeated it again. "Promise me?" So I did. At the time, I thought it was fear talking. I didn't realize my father had already been preparing for exactly that scenario, especially where Travis was concerned. Dad passed away on a Monday morning at 4:22 a.m. I was sitting beside him holding a paper cup of cold coffee. The room was silent except for the heart monitor winding down. Travis arrived that afternoon wearing a black designer coat and sunglasses indoors. He hugged me hard enough for other people to notice. Then he immediately asked, "So what happens with the property now?" Not "Are you okay?" Not "Was he in pain?" Property. That was the moment I stopped seeing him as my brother. The memorial happened 4 days later. I paid for most of it. Flowers. Food. Transportation. The church donation. Travis insisted on adding extra catering because appearances matter. He paid for none of it. After the service, people gathered in Dad's backyard drinking coffee beneath patio heaters. I overheard Travis talking to his wife near the garage. "The market out here is insane," he whispered. "If Natalie drags this out, we force a sale." Force a sale. Our father hadn't even been buried 24 hours. That night, while cleaning Dad's office, I found an envelope hidden inside an old atlas. My name was written across the front. Inside was a handwritten note. Natalie, if Travis starts talking about selling the house immediately, call Elena Brooks. She has everything. Love, Dad. Underneath was a phone number. I called before I could think twice. Elena Brooks answered immediately, and the first thing she said was, "I was expecting your call this week." Part 3. The document nobody expected. Elena Brooks had been my father's attorney for nearly 15 years. Sharp suit. Calm voice. Zero wasted words. I met her downtown the next morning. She placed a thick folder in front of me. Inside was the updated trust agreement. 8 months before Dad died, he transferred the property, savings accounts, and investment portfolio into a protected family trust, managed solely by me. Primary future beneficiary, Ava Rowe. Not Travis, not equally divided. My daughter. I looked up slowly. Elena folded her hands. Your father believed your brother would attempt immediate liquidation of assets. Liquidation. Like Dad's life was inventory to unload. Then Elena handed me another document. Travis had already contacted her office requesting a valuation of the home before the memorial even happened. Dad had predicted every step. And suddenly, his late-night warning made perfect sense. 2 mornings later, Travis showed up at the house carrying a locksmith invoice. Like changing locks made him owner. He smiled politely. Dad wanted security updated, he said. Then he handed me a copy of the receipt. I stared at him for a long second. My daughter's backpack was hanging beside the stairs. Dad's reading glasses were still on the kitchen counter, and my brother was trying to establish control before the grief had even settled. I asked quietly, "Who told you this house belonged to you?" Travis crossed his arms. "It belongs to family." Funny how people only say family when they want access to something expensive. I stepped aside. "Come inside," I said calmly. He looked surprised, probably expected yelling. Instead, I sat him at the dining room table and placed Elena's folder in front of him. He opened it confidently. Halfway through the first page, his face lost color. By the second page, he stopped talking entirely. "The trust," he whispered. I nodded. Ava's trust. Silence. Then anger. Immediate, explosive anger. "You manipulated Dad?" I actually laughed. Because people like Travis believe accountability is manipulation whenever consequences finally arrive. He stood so fast his chair scraped the hardwood. "This isn't finished," he snapped. Then he grabbed the locksmith receipt and forgot his sympathy card on the table when he stormed out. I kept both. Documentation matters. A week later, Travis started posting online about being cut out by greedy relatives. People believed him. At first. Then Elena called me. Apparently Travis officially challenged the trust. Terrible decision. Because Dad included a no contest clause. If any family member attempted to challenge the trust for financial gain, they forfeited every remaining inheritance tied to the estate, which meant Travis lost his share of the vacation cabin, the investment account, Dad's classic car collection, everything else. Estimated total value, just over $600,000. Elena actually sounded impressed. "Your father planned very carefully," she said. Travis called me 13 times that night. I ignored every single call. His last voicemail came after midnight. "You poisoned Dad against me?" "No. Dad finally stopped ignoring who you were." "That's different." 8 months later, Ava and I repainted the back porch the soft gray color Dad always liked. The house stayed ours. Not because I screamed louder, because my father prepared smarter. Travis moved back to Arizona. Last I heard, he still tells people I stole the family inheritance. That's fine. People who feel entitled to everything usually call boundaries theft. Sometimes at night after Ava falls asleep, I sit on the porch with tea and listen to the rain hit the trees behind the fence. And I still hear Dad's voice. "Don't let him sell this place." I didn't. That's my story. 1 locksmith receipt. 1 trust agreement. 1 daughter who stopped explaining herself. If this story felt familiar, subscribe to Echoed Karma. And remember, the quietest person in the family is usually the one holding the real paperwork.